Okay, let's talk about the metaverse. You've heard the word a million times, right? It was supposed to be this huge virtual reality future that would change everything. But what if I told you the real metaverse is already here and it snuck in through the back door, looking a whole lot less like a sci-fi movie and a whole lot more like a video game? Let's get into it.
First up, let's look at the metaverse we were all promised. The one pushed by Silicon Valley, the one that needed a clunky headset and a huge leap of faith. This was supposed to be the next big thing, the next internet. And wow, did companies bet big on that vision. Get this, since just 2020, Meta has sunk an absolutely mind-blowing $80 billion into its Reality Labs division, all to build this VR dream. That is an almost unbelievable amount of cash. So you spend all that money, you build the thing, and you're left with one very simple and very, very expensive question. Is anyone actually in there? Where did all that money go if not to build a world that people actually wanted to visit? Well, the numbers tell a wild story. Meta's big project, Horizon Worlds, has about 200,000 monthly users, which, okay, sounds like a lot until you compare it to Roblox, a platform a lot of people just write off as a game for kids. Roblox has 1.5 times billion monthly users. It's not even a competition. They're playing two different sports. And facing that cold, hard reality, Meta basically admitted defeat. They announced a massive pivot. They're rebuilding Horizon Worlds to work on plain old mobile phones. Why? Because that's where everybody already is. Turns out the future isn't some fancy headset. It's the screen that's already in your pocket.
And that brings us to this really interesting idea. The actual working, thriving metaverse, it's not some failed VR experiment. It's already here, it's huge, and for all intents and purposes, it's a game.
To really get why, we need to just forget all the corporate hype for a second and look at a simple definition. What is a metaverse? It's a persistent 3D world where people, as avatars, can hang out, interact, and even do business. It's a social space. It's an economy. It's a shared experience. Now, think about it. If you use that checklist, platforms like Roblox and Fortnite already tick every single box. They're always on. They're social hubs for millions of people. They have their own real, functioning economies with currencies like Robux and V-Bucks. And they're hosting massive cultural events like concerts.
But here's the kicker. The most successful metaverse on Earth, Roblox, is now running away from the label. The word metaverse has become so tied to hype, crypto scams, and broken promises that people in the industry are actually calling it the M word. It's become toxic. This didn't just pop up out of nowhere. This whole thing was kind of an accidental revolution, something that's been building for more than 30 years, based on ideas that are even older than the internet we use today. It really starts in fiction, with Neal Stephenson's novel Snow Crash back in 1992. Then in 2003, a platform called Second Life came along and proved people actually do want a virtual world they can build themselves. Fast forward to Minecraft, which basically became a training camp for a whole generation of digital creators. And then Fortnite blew up, and it wasn't just a game anymore, it became a global hangout spot. But here's where it gets really interesting and a little bit scary. As these platforms shifted from being just games to something more like a parallel life, the lines started to get really blurry, and the consequences of that are profound, they're complex, and they might even be dangerous. I mean, today, these are full-blown creator economies. Just look at this. 40% of all the time people spend in Fortnite is now in worlds built by other users, not the company. That's insane. It's basically the YouTube model, but for interactive worlds. And of course, the big brands have noticed. These worlds are now what some people call playable billboards. A Travis Scott concert inside Fortnite isn't just a cool event. It is the marketing. It's a giant ad that you get to live inside.
And it's not just commercial stuff either. We're talking high culture. The Museum of Fine Arts in Boston is now licensing its priceless masterpieces so your avatar can wear them in Roblox and Fortnite. The wall between a museum and an in-game cosmetic shop has completely crumbled. So this level of engagement is just off the charts. But it makes you ask a really serious question. What's the psychological price of designing a world so perfectly that people never, ever want to leave? And that question is now being argued in court. There's a wave of lawsuits from 2025 that claim these platforms aren't just fun games. They're addictive products, intentionally designed to hook the developing brains of kids and cause actual harm.
These lawsuits point to very specific design choices. Things like variable rewards, which work just like a slot machine to keep your brain hooked, or limited time events, which create a massive fear of missing out, or FOMO. They're even citing brain scan studies that suggest these gameplay loops can cause structural changes in young brains. So all of this puts us at a huge fork in the road for the future of our digital lives. What kind of metaverse are we really building here? And maybe more importantly, who's in charge? Right now, there are basically two competing visions. On one hand, you have the walled garden. That's what we have now with Roblox and Fortnite. Everything is centralized, the company has all the control, and all the stuff you buy or create is locked inside that one platform. The other vision is for an open metaverse, where your digital identity, your items, they all belong to you, and you can take them from one world to another. And the big worry here is that we're settling. We're getting so caught up in how fun and easy these walled gardens are that we're accidentally accepting a corporate-run metaverse, a future where all of our digital creations, our entire online identity, is just being rented from a giant company, not actually owned by us. Which leaves us with one final and really critical question. As we spend more and more of our lives in these digital spaces, our social lives, our work, our identities, who gets to rate the rules? Is it the corporations who own the servers, or should it be the millions of users who are actually building these worlds? That right there, that's the question that's going to define the entire next chapter of the internet.